Hi everybody, this is Farah Jasmine from High Heels and Training Wheels. Today we're going to have our first in a series of Mom Mondays. Today I'm really lucky because we get to have Kimberly from Penny Pincher Fashion to speak with us a little bit about having lupus and parenting, and we're going to talk a little bit about her blog. If you don't know who Kimberly is, you need to find out. Kimberly is the author at pennypincherfashion.com, and she has fantastic advice and practical advice, and I have to make that very clear. It's practical advice on ways to stay on trend even as a busy mom, even as a busy anybody. Some of the things that I really love right now are she has some great makeup tips on how to do a smoky eye, and one of my favorite parts about that is that she is not talking about just put on a bunch of black around your eyes and call it smoky. There's actually some color in it, but it's also kind of gives you that beautiful, sexy, smoky eye that we all try to achieve. And then another part is I love her fashion. She's just so cute. She's so beautiful, and she puts together outfits that amaze me, that are things that I probably have in my closet, but I would not combine because I'm not that smart. So Kim, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Wow, that was quite the intro.
I have to say, I found you, I don't know, quite a bit ago. I think maybe, 6 months ago, I think I might have found you. And I stayed up all night reading your blog.
Wow.
And I actually felt really special because I saw you were in Redbook.
Yes, just this last month. That was really exciting.
I was going through the pages, and I said, wait a second, I know her. And I told my husband, I'm like, I think I know her. And sure enough, it was you. So congratulations on that. And again, thank you so much for agreeing to meet with me today. So for everybody that's with us today, I want to let you guys know that something that Kimberly, you would never be able to tell from looking at her, she has lupus, and she has been dealing with this as a parent and a patient for quite a while, and today we're lucky enough to talk with her a little bit about it. So tell me a little bit about the diagnostic process for you. What happened, and how did you have to go through the whole diagnosing stage?
Well, my symptoms started through a series of illnesses. I would get really sick, then I would get better, then I would get really sick, then I would get better, and this went off and on for a couple of years, probably 3 or 4 years before I was diagnosed with lupus, which was just this last January. And they kept telling me that I had mono, I would get a high fever, severe fatigue, and every time they tested my blood work, it came back positive for mono, so they kept thinking that's what I had. But I just knew in my heart that something more was wrong, but I couldn't get the answers that I was wanting. Nobody was listening to me, and it wasn't until it started in December, a really severe flare, and I went in right in the middle of it, and they did my blood work, and I found a great doctor who was, willing to listen, and I shared with him my whole medical history, and he was a brand new doctor the first time I'd ever seen him. So I was a little nervous that he was going to think I was crazy or a hypochondriac. But he really listened, and he knew exactly what to test for, and that's when I was diagnosed.
So what are your symptoms on a day-to-day basis? During your big flare, what was that big flare like? What were the symptoms that kind of were glaringly obvious? And then what are the symptoms that you live with daily right now?
The symptoms during my flare, it started with a high fever. That's kind of how it always starts for me. High fever, really bad sore throat, swollen glands, and joint pain, fatigue, all of those things. And then I also had a rash that started kind of on the back of my neck, and then it moved around all over the front of my chest. And I also had my eyes were involved, which was a new thing for me. My eye started itching like crazy, and I thought I'm having a reaction to something, but I hadn't used any new makeup or skincare, anything different. And my eye eventually swelled shut completely, my left eye, so I was like wearing sunglasses inside of the stores. It was so embarrassing. And And then just, joint pain that was unlike anything I'd experienced. It felt like, I told my husband, I said, the only way to describe it is it feels like my bones are on fire. Like, that was the best way to describe the pain. It was awful.
I've described mine kind of like Charlie horses that you used to have when you were a kid.
Yeah.
That just aching, just you can't move them, and you just want your mommy. No.
Exactly. Fun.
No, it's not fun at all. So how old are your kids?
My daughter is 10 and my son is 6, so 5th grade and 1st grade.
I have a first grader as well, and then my other one is in preschool, so it's a really fun age. When you were diagnosed and you finally had a name to the disease, what did you talk to your kids about it? And if so, how did you talk to them about it? How did you explain what lupus was to them so that they understood, but at their level?
Yeah, well, we sat them down, and I mean, I had been sick for a while at that point, so it wasn't, coming out of the blue for them. It wasn't a big shock, but we just explained it very matter of fact, again, how they would understand it. We just said it's a disease. It's not something that will ever go away. It's something that I will live with, until the day I die. And it means that sometimes I won't be able to do the things I want to do. Sometimes I will need to sleep more. Sometimes I will need lots of rest and hugs and grace. So we just kind of explained it in that way, and I pretty drastically adjusted my diet after being diagnosed to try to reverse some of the symptoms and help with the joint pain, and just as a way to sort of be the best wife and mom that I could be, give myself the best chance. And so that really did help. And I explained to the kids, I'm going to start eating different foods, and you guys don't have to eat them, but this is why, to try to avoid some of the medications that they wanted to put me on. So they took it really well. They were at good ages for understanding it. I think, had they been like 2 and 3, it would have been really difficult. And the ages that they are, they're pretty, independent right now. So they can get their own snacks and make their own sandwiches, and that definitely helps.
Now, have you had little hiccup flares since your diagnosis in January, do you feel?
I
Or
definitely,
lupus days, I call them?
yes, I definitely have, and a lot of mine are usually caused by stress and or lack of sleep. Like, I'm not sleeping well. Usually I'm not sleeping well because I'm stressed.
Right.
Went on a 3-week vacation to visit our families in Oregon, which
Oh,
was,
wow.
and yeah, everyone thinks, oh, 3-week vacation, that sounds so relaxing. But because I work full time and my blog is our main source of income for our family, I had to do all of my posts in advance before our trip, which was very stressful and time consuming. So all of the stress leading up to the vacation meant that once we were actually there on vacation, I got sick. So
You had your crash.
yes,
Your body was like, okay, I'm done.
yep, my body just gave out. So we ended up having to go to an urgent care center, see some doctor who I didn't know, and just say, I'm from out of state, I have lupus, and I ended up having kidney stones, which was really fun on vacation.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so.
Now, when you have those I don't feel like that was little, but when you do have a hiccup flare or a lupus day, do you think your kids realize it before, or do you have to say, you guys, look, I'm having a lupus day, or this is one of mommy's off days, I need your help with X, Y, Z, or do you think they're kind of aware of it before you even say anything?
I think it depends on the day. My daughter, the older one, she's usually more sensitive to it, so she'll say, are you not feeling good today, Mom? She'll kind of pick up on it, I think, before my son will. And they're really understanding. I mean, I think at first it was hard for them. Like, if my husband wanted to go on like a family hike, and I was like, oh, today isn't the best day for me. You might have to take them by yourself. I think that was hard for the kids at first because we've always done everything all together, the 4 of us. And it was hard for me to say no to that too, but it's just part of managing a lifelong disease like this. You just have to learn your limits, and it's something I continue to learn. Like with exercise, for example, I used to run like 8 miles a day, and I just can't. When I try to push myself too hard, I end up just flat on the floor.
Yeah, you're done. You've hit a wall and there's no getting up. It's literally you're
Yeah.
just done.
I think being type A does not help. I want to push myself. I want to, be like an athlete and do the best I can do. And I'm just learning, you know what? I can't do that anymore. It's just not doable. So,
I have the exact same problem. I've been trying to train for a half marathon, and my body is screaming no from every way it can. And I'm taking a step back and realizing, you know what, maybe this isn't in the cards this year, but maybe next year I'll try again. But I feel like anybody who has lupus, I've found this to be true, 9 times out of 10, is that if you have lupus or any autoimmune disease, you are more than likely a type A personality. I think I try to tell myself at least that lupus is my body's way of saying everything doesn't have to be exact, and you just have to learn to roll with the punches and see if there's an alternative way to do what you want to do or to be involved in what you want to be involved in.
mm-hmm.
How have you been involved in extra things for your kids? Like, what do you do? Have you found a way to be able to be an active participant but still be able to take care of yourself when it comes to taking care of your kids?
Yeah, I have to pick and choose with them. Thankfully, we're really blessed. We both my husband and I work from home, and he really just works part-time, so we have the flexibility to be able to do things during the day, like chaperone a field trip or, be involved, help out in the classroom. So that's really great. And he is able to do a lot of those things. And he's kind of taken on a little bit more since I was diagnosed. So that helps. And then with my daughter, she's in a club that's called Pioneer Girls. It's kind of like Girl Scouts at our church. And that's in the evenings, one night a week. And this year I decided, last year I didn't do it, but this year I decided I wanted to try to be involved as one of the leaders and be there every single week. So it should be interesting. I'm hopeful that it will go well and that I'll be able to make it every week and that it won't be too much of a commitment. So we'll have to see how it goes.
I completely understand. I have a little boy in baseball, and I've done the same thing with him where I actually helped with this team. And this season I was like, okay, this season I'm taking off. I need to, regroup a little bit. So it's fun. It's great. And do you ever find yourself kind of rallying when it comes to this? I think you talked about your vacation. You know that something is coming up. You rally, you get it done, and then you allow yourself a certain amount of recovery time.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you can budget that time in there, do you feel then you're able to do more? Does that even make sense? You have a time for rest, but you can rally when you need to?
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. That's something I've learned just since January, is that it's so important to build in that recovery time, like you said. I think like around the holidays, like after Christmas, I just know that the week after I just
my gosh, yes.
not make any plans. Yeah, I think that's really important, and that really goes a long way in managing the illness.
Right. Now, do you have help with the kids? Do you, on those days that you're having lupus days, do you have help with the kids? What does your husband do to help you, or do you have outside help from somebody else that can kind of help get you through when you're not feeling 100%?
We don't have outside help. Because we live in New York and both of our families live in Oregon, we are kind of on our own. So my husband does help out a lot, though. My job working with a blog is totally full-time, and his is only part-time. So he has really stepped up. He makes lunches in the morning. He picks the kids up from school. That's what he's doing right now. So he's really become, I don't want to say Mr. Mom, because I'm still the mom, but he's really helped out a lot. I feel very blessed. I don't know. I feel I could never survive as a single mom because he does so much, and he's not complained about it. He just does it happily. I mean, there are moments where he's like, I need a break from the kids, you know.
Right.
But for the most part, yeah, he really picks up the slack on days when I'm not feeling well, and there are lots of days or weekends where he will get the kids up, keep them quiet, which I don't even know how he does it, and I will sleep in. I'll wake up and it's like 10 o'clock, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe I slept in this long. You know, how did you keep them
Right.
quiet? So things like that really help.
Now, when you do have the days out, you're not feeling 100%, what do you do with the kids? Do you have activities pre-planned? So do you have, crafts or art stuff that you can say, you know what, you guys, you can go over here and do your thing, or movie days, or what do you do to get through those days?
I think, during the summer was a much bigger challenge. During the school year, they're at school, so it's not, you just have a short window of time from when they get home from school till dinner, essentially. So that's not too hard to fill. But yeah, they do. They both read now, and they both love to read. So they could read for an hour easy. We go to
That's
the
awesome.
library.
That's
Yeah,
great.
we go to the library and get like a huge bag of books, and they will go through them. So we definitely build in some reading time. That's important. And they both love to do art. And because they're older, they can play really well together on their own. Like we have a basement, and all their Legos are set up in the basement, and they get along fairly well. So they can just go down to the basement and play, and they don't need a lot of structure like they did when they were little. So to encourage all you moms who have little kids, it does get better.
I know. It will stop.
Yeah.
Now, how has lupus affected your relationship with your husband? I mean, I know you're talking about how much slack he's picking up and how much he does, and just being wonderful and allowing you to sleep in. But on a personal level, and I guess a marital level, for lack of a better word, how has it affected your relationship?
I think, again, I was sick for a long time before I was actually diagnosed. So it's something we were dealing with for a while. We just didn't know what we were dealing with.
Right, right.
He has been really great and understanding for a long time when I wasn't feeling well. He actually, and part of this plays into it, when he was 9 years old, his dad had a stroke. And he was the oldest kid in the family, so he and his dad, from that moment on, from when he had his stroke, he was in a hospital bed. He never walked again. He was just sick. So my husband at 9 years old became the man of the house, and had to take over and help out. His mom, she had to go back to work. It was a big thing. I think a lot of that plays into why he's such a great caretaker for me now, is that he learned that lesson really early on. He was helping care for his dad, and he just, picked himself up by the bootstraps and was like, okay, this is my job. And I think he did the same thing when I was diagnosed. He looked at it as, okay, he had a moment where we both did. We had moments where we grieved and realized, because it's not like the flu, it's something you're going to have for the rest of your life. And so there was that moment of grieving, and then we were like, okay, we're ready to face this head on. How are we going to do it, But it definitely has affected our marriage. I think we've just had to learn a new way to communicate with each other, if that makes sense. I've had to learn to
Absolutely.
tell him, what I need and when I need it, and he's been so great. He will, because he knows the kind of person I am, being type A and wanting to do everything. He will stop me sometimes and say, "You need to just go sit down. You need to just rest."
Yes.
And having those reminders are so important, because a lot of times I won't stop myself. I'll just keep going and going and going. And he really helps sort of gauge that for me, and that's really important.
So he kind of puts you in check. He'll say, you know what, you're going too far. I think it's time for you to rest. Why don't you do this? I'll take the kids and help
Yeah,
out that way.
yeah,
I mean, that's great. What a great teammate to have through all of this, as because having a chronic illness really does put a heavy weight on a family and on a marriage, and it's really nice when you have a companion who understands, but also helps you understand what you're going through as well. Like, you guys can work together through it. So that's pretty amazing. So I have one more question, and I want to know, what do you want people to know? If you had to, get on a soapbox and say, I am a parent, I am a wife, I have lupus. This is what I want you to know about me, but I'm not going to tell you. I just want you to know.
um, just one thing that's so hard. I would
Okay, you
say
can make it. I mean, just give me a couple. I mean, just tell me what, and just give me. I'll let you have a couple. Just give me what you think if you would be.
I think having lupus has really helped me not that I was judgmental before, but it's helped me see others in a different light. You know, when you go to the store and you see someone with their kids and you have those internal thoughts, I think, it's really made me look at people differently and like, who knows what they're facing every day. I wake up every day and I don't know how I'm going to feel when I get up in the morning. I don't know if it's going to be a rough day or if I've been like have energy. And so I think it's helped me really give more grace, freely to other people, because having an illness is so unpredictable, and it's important that, just because someone looks a certain way on the outside, that doesn't mean that their life is perfect and that everything is smooth sailing. They could be facing something really difficult, internally, or battling an illness, and you just don't know. Don't judge a book by its cover, I guess.
Do you feel like you have a lot of support, either from the lupus community or just from people around you when you do talk about lupus? Especially since you're talking about people not judging a book by its cover. Do you feel that you've been able to get the support that you need in order to carry on?
Yeah, I do think so. Again, we don't have family here, so that made it a little bit challenging right at first. And we do have a great network of friends, and they were very supportive right away. They brought meals over when I was really, really sick, and offered to take the kids. And so, yeah, we do have some really great friends that have been a huge support. And right away, I joined a couple of Facebook support pages for people with lupus, and that was
Right.
a
Yeah,
great
I'm a
way.
part of some of those as well.
Yeah, that was a great way to connect with other women and just hear, I mean, if nothing else, just to hear that how I'm feeling is totally normal, you know?
Yes, because you feel like you're crazy all the time. I
Yeah,
constantly feel like I'm losing my mind.
yeah, exactly. Or when I would have some new, totally weird symptom that I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? I could go on that Facebook page and be like, oh, okay, it's totally normal. I'm not dying.
Exactly, yeah. When I went through my bout of optic neuritis, I actually sent a text message to my friend. I said, "This sounds really weird, but I feel like I'm looking through wax paper." And I said, "But I have no reason. I don't know why I feel like this." And she just giggled because she's heard me say stuff randomly like that before. And sure enough, it ended up being something, and it wasn't in my it was in my head, but it wasn't in my mind.
Yeah, no, I had woke up one morning with an ocular migraine.
Oh, those are awful.
I'd never had one before, and my head actually didn't hurt right away. I was just seeing things, and like you said, I thought I was going crazy. I'm like, I'm seeing spiders on the wall that aren't there. So I was like, that's a very awkward phone call to make to the doctor. I need to come in and be seen because I'm seeing spiders.
And I promise you they aren't there. I know they're not there.
Yeah, turns out totally normal.
Well, thank you so, so, so much for allowing me to talk with you a little bit today about living life with lupus and parenting and your relationship and all of that. I feel like it is so important for us to get that support and realize that we're not crazy. We are all going through a disease, whether it be some other autoimmune disease or whether it be lupus, that is hidden. It's an invisible disease, and it's so hard to talk about, frankly, and it's so hard to talk about without feeling crazy. You don't want to be that person that's always has the ache and pains, and so I really am glad that you're allowing me to help get the message out that we're not crazy. We're all getting through it, and there is a network of support for moms and for parents that are going through something like this. So thank you so much for giving me your time and allowing me to learn a little bit about you. So
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
now everybody, please make sure that you do go check out Kimberly's website. It is, again, pennypincherfashion.com. You will learn some great tips. You're going to learn some fantastic ways to wear stuff you already have, and you're just going to love it. I promise you. So thanks again, Kimberly, and thank you for being the first one for Mom Mondays.
Thank you.